Chapter 5. Tell me. At 2 o'clock, the coffee shop was quiet as was usual this time of the day. The lunch crowd had been and gone, and it wasn't yet time for the 3 o'clock slump customers. When Skye stepped through the door, the gentle strum of an acoustic guitar coming from the restaurant's speaker and the fresh coffee aroma that cocooned her eased her frayed nerves. Tom's tall, broad bulk was hard to miss as he leaned on the counter waiting for a barista to complete his order. Arms crossed and a coffee stirrer clamped between his teeth, he nodded his hello. Skye joined him. A wave to the barista was enough to get her own order started. They knew her well. After picking up their coffees, they found a round, sun-drenched table near the large front window. Eager for an explanation, especially after the new video, Skye leaned forward. Her elbows rested on the table as she sipped her coffee, letting the bittersweet taste linger on her tongue for a bit longer than necessary. Tom, what's going on? Tell me. First the video from yesterday, then today I saw an alarming news report from Ohio. Tom, though, was now reluctant to share what he had invited her here to say. He looked at the floor instead of her, slouching with his back to the window and his long arm stretched out toward his coffee sitting on the table. Yeah, I heard about that news report, Tom said, his voice low. Skye was quiet, waiting for him to continue. If there was one thing she knew how to do well, it was to wait until someone was ready to talk. Tom frowned, sighed, and looked out the window. Things are changing, Skye. In a big way. Skye's eyes widened at his tone. This is serious, like really serious. A band squeezed her heart. What do you mean? Tom rolled a shoulder and took a gulp of his coffee before returning his gaze to her. This information isn't being released to the public yet. But, your family, I want you to know about this. This sickness, nobody seems to understand it or how it came to be. But we're being told it's out of control. A lot of people will get it. Skye's breathing picked up and goosebumps trailed down her arms. Okay. A lot of people? How many is a lot? Tom leaned forward, lowering his voice. Most everybody, Skye. Nothing can stop it. Most people who come into contact with it, catch it. And if you catch it, you die. He wiped a hand across his forehead. There are cases all across the U.S. The government has been letting on everything's okay, trying to suppress the media reports, but the news is getting out. This disease, it's not stopping. It's just gonna get worse from here on out. Skye's coffee cup slipped in her numb, sweaty hand. 1,000 random questions swirled through her mind, and she fired them at Tom. But there is a cure, right? Tom looked down and tapped his cup on the table a few times. He shook his head. No, like I said, nothing can stop it. Are they working on a cure? From what they're telling us, yeah. But how long has the sickness been going on? She stammered. He scowled. The first cases appeared about 6 months ago. Tom, the girl was foaming at the mouth. Is this, heaven forbid, some form of rabies? Skye's latte was not warming the chill that ran through her. That's one of the many rumors going around. I'm hoping not. Tom lowered his head and ran a hand through his hair. And they didn't warn anyone? Skye rubbed her arms. It was hard to believe they wouldn't have done so. At first no, for some idiotic reason. He ground out the words. But at last the pertinent medical community and now the cops. And no one knows what this is? Her voice rose to a higher pitch. I need to calm down. I can't let my anxiety get the best of me. Skye took a deep breath in and let it out a bit at a time. I think someone does, or a few someones do, but they aren't telling us. Skye paused a moment, suspecting there was more. Why are you telling me? Tom lowered his gaze. His chest rose and fell a few times before he spoke. Sky closed her eyes. Even more bad news is coming. Tom leaned closer and lowered his voice, his pale blue eyes direct. Because Sky, you need to get ready. There are a lot more cases out there. People who haven't come to the hospital. They're out there infecting others right now. It's airborne, so it's spreading fast. But if you avoid that, if you get bit, you're gonna get it. Infected people, any of them, are dangerous. Bit? You mean everyone becomes like that girl? That's what happens? It's one of the things, yeah. Sky shuddered as she remembered the news report of the girl. Is that why you shot the man on the video? Yeah, he headed straight for me. Couldn't risk him passing that on. Sympathy crept into Tom's voice. And besides, he suffered less that way. How so? The end's brutal, I've seen it. Once a person gets it, they're just counting days. Tom lowered his head and shook it before looking back at Sky. If this continues as expected, you'll have to stay in. People are gonna get crazier than an outhouse fly as this continues to get out. If a snowstorm's coming, there is a huge run on the store. You need to be ready before the panic hits. We reckon we have a year, at least another 6 months, before the worst of it. Get your cash out of the bank. Stock up on food and water. So if it comes to it, you won't have to leave the house. This may end up in quarantines and curfews. I just don't know. Sky reached a hand out to Tom. It's too much, I can't deal with this. Tom understood what was happening and squeezed Sky's hand. I know you get anxious, but you need to be ready for anything. Anything, do you understand? Her other hand trembled as she gulped her tasteless latte. She stammered, I wouldn't believe this, except that I know you wouldn't pull this kind of elaborate prank on me. Also, I've seen those 2 videos. Her gaze strayed to the busy street outside the window. Being the one major road through town, it was highly trafficked during the day. Sky wondered how many vehicles would travel it by the end of the year. Okay, 6 months. We can use cloth masks to help slow the disease in the meantime, right? Surely the scientists will have discovered a cure by then. Sure, masks will help some, but they aren't going to stop it. Tom frowned and repeated, nothing so far has worked. That is what I'm hearing. The incubation period is up to a year. So the best case is, we have a year, but we're training for the worst case scenario, which is 6 months. There's no talk about a cure other than to say it's being worked on, and it's not factored into any of our training. Sky put her head in her shaking hands. She couldn't even begin to comprehend what this might mean, probably would mean not only for her but all humankind. No cure? There is always a cure. No, this is impossible. This kind of thing doesn't happen in real life. This is the stuff of books and movies. The fiction you enjoy fearing while curled up with a blanket on your comfy couch. Her anxiety rose until the tinkling bell on the door, and the shop's background music filled her ears, canceling out all other sounds. She pulled in a breath and released it to steady her nerves. The comforting aroma of coffee just smelled bitter. She raised her head, her eyes asking questions that her addled mind couldn't think up yet. Tom? Tom pleaded with her. Listen. Do what I said. Do it now. I will check on you as soon as I can. Using his stern cop voice, he added, this is happening. Sky. I know you, don't you ignore it, you hear me? Sky nodded yes, but her mind continued to swirl with their conversation. He gave her a hard stare, stood and patted her on the shoulder. I will call you, he said and walked out of the coffee shop. Sky dug her medication out of her purse and swallowed a pill. The bangle bracelets on her arm jangled. The jewelry was a reminder of all the caring people in Sky's life, each bracelet given with love and concern. Each meant something special. A gold one entwined with roses, a silver one embedded with diamonds, and a simple hand-beaten copper one with the word strength etched on it. She ran her finger over the word, feeling the edges of the lettering on the smooth metal. This one was from her father. He had given it to her during a dark time in her life. Sky, baby, he'd told her, you're strong. Stronger than you know. You can do anything you put your mind to. It had helped her then, and it helped her now as she imagined him and his warm southern drawl saying those loving words. Sky looked up when her phone alarm rang, reminding her of her next appointment. She grabbed her cell in one hand and her latte in the other, her heels making a sharp tap as she crossed the salmon-colored tile floor. She hurried through the glass door and rounded it, picking up her pace as she went. Sky saw the man a moment before she ran head-on into his hard chest. Too late to stop, it jolted her almost off her feet. Sky lost her balance and took a few faltering steps as she tried to get it back, her latte splashing across her hand as she did so. His firm, calloused hands reached out and grabbed her upper arms, steadying her and lifting her a bit. Sky's feet left the ground as he put her to the side. She stood there blinking as the man continued on his way, barely breaking his stride. "Ma'am," he said as he passed her, his low voice as rugged as his hands. Sky glimpsed broad shoulders and dark hair before the man turned the corner. "Sorry," she called out as she rushed down the sidewalk already thinking about her next appointment. She barely registered what happened.